Well, hello there, my friends, and a very good afternoon to you. I hope you can hear me loud and clear. I'm just waiting for the sharing option to come through, and while I'm waiting for that, I'm going to say that anything that you see in the course of my presentation, you can request. Just remember my name, and I'm happy to send through any teaching materials. I'm happy to send through any assessment materials that I'll talk about in this whirlwind presentation. And hopefully away we go, and you can see my screen here. Um, am I gonna get too complex about it? Yeah, I'm gonna go for it. Okay, I'm going full screen, so if there's any issues, I'm sure that Phil is going to flag it with me. So this very brief presentation is called Teaching Generative AI as a Critical Skill for Future Careers, and it describes how I redesigned my research methods module to teach students, undergraduate students, the effective, critical, ethical, and responsible use of generative artificial intelligence. There were a couple of reasons for that. Well, first of all, being able to use Gen AI effectively and critically is a key employability skill, and some say it's going to replace the proficient with Microsoft Excel line that you see on almost every CV. I also decided to teach students the effective, critical, ethical, and responsible use of Gen AI in the module because of the abysmal standard of cheating from the previous time my module ran. I was thinking, students have access to this incredibly powerful tool. Why is the cheating so bad? Surely the cheating can be better than that. So what I did was introduced Gen AI to my module in 6 of the 12 weeks. You can see there the details of who the students were, second year undergraduates. And it all started in week 4, where we looked at Gen AI for problem solving and a couple of other things as we go along, which I'll summarize now. So this all helped build towards the final assessment for the module, where students used a 500-word prompt that I gave to them, which would write a research proposal. The only part of the prompt that they would change is what they wanted the topic of the research proposal to be. So students could enter whatever they wanted. The impact of TikTok on student study habits, the interest in raves or drum and bass among undergraduate students at Northumbria University, whatever they liked. They'd also write a 500-word prompt on their experience of using generative AI for complex tasks and reflect on that. So every student got a research proposal to mark and critique on a subject that interested them, which allowed them to apply module materials, and also an opportunity to reflect deeply on the benefits and shortcomings of Gen AI on their studies and careers. Using Gen AI in class, well, for the first time, students were blown away. Using Gen AI in the open, in class, we can't believe it. This is amazing. And we had a discussion about what tools students were aware of. They were only all aware of ChatGPT. It was pathetic. They'd never heard of any other tools. So we spoke about the benefits of other tools like Perplexity or Pi, even Writer, which claims to mimic human writing. We also spoke about how students had used Gen AI to date. Had they tried to cheat an assessment? Did it work? How good were their instructions? And then we moved on to this scenario that you see on screen. And the idea was I would just let students try and get a recommendation for either a positivist or interpretivist approach to this research problem. So the students thought, easy peasy, let's get a recommendation for one of the two paradigms that we spoke about in this week's lecture. And out of 66 students in 3 seminar groups, not a single one could get a recommendation for either positivism or interpretivism. It was all pragmatism, mixed methods for this research problem. Pathetic. And we introduced the prompt engineer framework. You can see this is from the Fitzpatrick et al. 2023 book. And the prep part of Prep and Edit talks about the writing of prompts. P, what is the purpose of the prompt? The role or voice, what's the perspective that you want the output written from? The explicit instructions. So exactly what do you want it to do and what do you not want it to do? The parameters, word limit, answer in bullet points, UK English, whatever. After students use prep to write their prompt, I'm going to say almost all got a recommendation for either positivism or interpretivism, which I think was best for the research scenario. In the week 5 lecture, students used the Gen AI of their choice to write a literature review. So building on the lecture and using prep, they used Gen AI to write a literature review. You can see on the right of this slide my curated list of 13. Then we get to the important part, the critical part that you're all here to listen to today, the edit part. So critically analyzing Gen AI's output. E, did it adhere to the instructions that you gave it fully? D, for determine, are any claims and statements that the Gen AI makes accurate? Well, some students said to me that this step is so onerous, they'd be quicker going off and writing something themselves. Because checking every claim and every statement for its accuracy, well, it's a time-consuming job. I, for identify, is the tone leading? Are there biases? Well, of course there are biases. Gen AI is trained on very large amounts of data. There are biases in that data. Gen AI is a statistical probability model that gives you a likely output based on your prompt. Those biases are going to come through into your output. For T-transform, can you change the Gen AI's output into something that's useful and valuable for your particular purposes? In week 6, students wrote a research proposal on a topic of their choice. The only rules were they couldn't use my very detailed prompt from the assessment brief. They had to come up with it themselves. And they realized what hard work it was coming up with a 500-word prompt. In response to student feedback, we spoke about acceptable Gen AI use at the university, and this gave students a great opportunity to speak about academic integrity issues. The most popular of the sessions was week 11, where students could write either a cover letter for a job application or promotional materials for their student enterprises. So what they do is they'd input some data about the job that was being advertised or about their student enterprise, and they'd get the Gen AI to ask as many questions as possible to develop those promotional materials or that cover letter. That was the most popular one, and some students said that they got jobs on the basis of these Gen AI cover letters. And people say I'm wild for this one. In the final seminar of the module, week 12, students put their prompt engineering and critical analysis skills to the test by seeing could they use Gen AI to cheat the final assessment. So that's getting Gen AI to mark and critique a Gen AI written research proposal and getting Gen AI to write a reflective statement. Well, from the critical analysis of Gen AI marks and critiques of Gen AI work, students realized, hang on, a probability model that loves obvious patterns being marked and critiqued by a probability model that loves obvious patterns, it's giving itself extraordinarily high results, 80, 90% for quite weak research proposals that demonstrated no common sense. And as for the reflective statements, just so vague, broad, it was completely meaningless and lacking in detail. However, students said that there was some value in the Gen AI output, and they could use it as the foundation upon which to build their work for the final assessment. Students said, whoa, crazy, we're using Gen AI in class, but they realized the value of structuring or organizing their prompts using a framework. The prep edit one is just one of hundreds. And they said that the module helped them use Gen AI ethically and responsibly because they understood the weaknesses in Gen AI output and its limitations, and they loved the opportunity to apply it practically. I gathered student feedback as the module went. They said it was interesting. I did post-module interviews with students. They were all incredibly positive and focused on using Gen AI effectively, giving them an edge over other applicants for jobs in the future. They said they really liked how adaptive the module was. They said, we've never been assessed like this in the past. This is brilliant. And they thought the module could be enhanced with more examples of students' work to compare Gen AI output with. So real students' research proposals. So I've spoken about all these things already. They love the innovative assignment structure. There was a lot of debate about whether the final assessment was cheatable. Opinions were mixed. Some said, nah, I can't do it, too well designed, and others said, we could probably scrape a pass. But what's the point of that? They enjoyed writing reflective statements as well, as it helped to I guess, position their understanding of the experience of the module very nicely for them. All students spoke about the value of the CV and cover letter, transferable skills, and, well, what can I say? They loved it. The module did extraordinarily well. It did better than departmental, faculty, and university averages for 8 out of 10 questions. I'm going for 10 out of 10 next year. And next year, or should I say this year and next semester, when the module runs again, I'm going to build on this success. So the students who participate in my module, we have 2 publications that are out at the moment. I use student partnership for the module, not going into detail on that, but next time the module runs, I'm going to use more powerful AI research tools like Elicit. If you're not using that, it's a great one. And well, I'm going to continue to provide ideas and inspiration for other modules and programs at Northumbria University and beyond. So if you liked anything that you saw today, please don't be shy about getting in touch. Happy to share all teaching and assessment materials with you. And I got a YouTube, just Google my name. I go into more detail about some of the things I spoke about today. And that's it. And I've even got time for questions. I can't believe it.
Thank you very much. Yes, so we do have time for one question. If you would like to ask a question, if you could raise your hand, and we can just operate on a first come, first served basis. John, would you be able to give David the permission to unmute himself?
Should be there now, David.
Hi, can you hear me?
David, loud and clear.
Excellent, good. It's a new laptop. One question. I work at a postgrad medical institute. What would be the top 3 uses of AI I would be advising students to encourage them to use? Anything from helping explain in initial contact, suggest areas they may have missed in an assignment, or even mark their assignment against the rubric. What are the top areas you would be suggesting I encourage students to use AI for?
So you're saying what are the ways that you should suggest that students use AI?
Yeah, what are the top 3 or 4 hits that you would suggest I be pushing students towards?
Interesting. Ideation, challenging their ideas, getting a different perspective on something. There are just so many. Hard to say. What I would say is some of my colleagues hate the idea that a student will upload PDF of an article to ChatGPT or another chatbot and say, summarize this article for me and tell me what the main points are, or pull out some quotes that I can include in my submission. So I don't know. It's up to you. I guess you got to think about what's appropriate for the purposes and how you're assessing the module.
Okay, ideation and challenging is a good starting point. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Pleasure is mine. Thank you for the question. And hello, everybody.
Thank you so much. We have actually reached time now, unfortunately, but if you do have any other questions for Tag, please stick them in the Q&A and we can have a look through those. But that was an amazing talk and we got lots of great resources there that we will be able to share with everyone via the mailing list after this webinar, and we'll share that alongside the recordings for today.